Hey there YouTube, this is Shua Hendry with another drawing tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at a great drawing technique using markers, specifically gray tone markers, and they're going to be extremely light gray tones. For this I'm using the Copic sketch markers here, and they got a chisel tip on one side and a brush tip on the other side, and I'm using an N0 and an N2, which is for natural. The N is for natural gray 0, natural gray 2, and you start with a light color first. And I'm doing this in my sketchbook, and I'm going to put a regular sheet of kind of typing paper underneath it because the markers will bleed through. So I'm going to rotate my sketchbook so I've got a little bit more room to move. I'm a left-handed person, and sometimes the binding on my book gets in the way. So I'm just going to be doing sort of a jet ski looking vehicle for the sake of this tutorial, and I'm going to be starting with my brush tip here. And the idea being working with the N0 first, working with your light color first. Start with just a quick line, just kind of the baseline where the water would be. And I just kind of make some general shapes to get started. And I'm not worried, I keep it very loose. I'm not worried about how tight it's going to be. I'm just trying to get some nice flowing lines together. But now I could start coming in with a black pen and really tightening up my details. What's nice here is a lot of times the marker has created extra shapes that maybe I didn't really see happening or plan out, but they're just happy accidents, as Bob Ross would call them, that you can capitalize on at this point. You can really start to use those marker shapes, kind of trace around them a little bit. And I like my lines to be as quick as possible and as fluid as possible, so I don't try and be too heavy-handed with the black. I try to really work. Even though it's black and I'm committing to some shapes at this point, I don't want to make them look heavy or clunky or jagged. So for instance, when I have a big stretch like this, I want to actually hit that stretch with one mark, okay, and let it be, because that keeps that elegant flow to it. If you keep working over that, especially on the top edges where you really want your lines to be a light line weight, if you overwork those, it's just going to kill your design. It's going to kill the feel of it, and you're really trying to keep that nice, fluid, smooth shape that you had going from the markers. Now on the underside, you can work it a little bit more because shadow tends to fall in there, get a little bit heavier with your line weight. You've got a little bit more safety to work. You're still not going to clunky. You don't want it to feel clunky, so you still don't want to overwork it, but you just got a little bit more freedom when you get to the underside of your shapes, because you know you can you can block it out a little bit more. But I still keep my motions quick. And if I want to get a rounded shape that doesn't feel natural, I will rotate my page to help me kind of get that nice rounded shape. Again, your wrist and your hand is going to naturally move in a rounded motion this way. So if you're reversing it, it can sometimes be difficult. And it's good to play around and kind of figure out what works for you, what feels natural and what feels comfortable. But you'll notice I rotate my page around a lot, move it around a lot to get that natural feel. Hopefully that comes through in your design. It will start to look more natural and more comfortable if you're drawing in a way that feels natural and comfortable. Sometimes when two lines don't match up perfectly, you can get away with doing like a little notch out to kind of hide your mistake, or stair step it a little bit, so you can get away with a little bit of a jagged feel, especially at joints and things like that. This actually starts to take on maybe the shell feeling of a shrimp or something like that, which is fine. You tend to mimic nature a little bit when you design anyway, and so if the watercraft mimics something that's going to be in the sea anyway, it kind of is a natural fit, and it's a good way to get away with some stuff, some not mistakes, but happy accidents. Again, I don't want to overdo it. If my lines aren't going to totally match up, just a suggestion of a line there sometimes is enough that I can kind of create it and make it work. But if you really get in there and overwork it, the eye can't do anything with that. You just are looking at something heavy and not too much fun to look at. So again, be light, be quick. Don't overdo it. If something looks good, don't keep overworking it just because you like the way it looks. Let it be. Let it be. So back here with a white Prismacolor pencil, I'm just going to put a little bit of edging detail in here. This works a lot better if you've used a darker gray marker. You can also clean up some of the areas maybe that you meant to keep white, the edges of the seat. You do a little bit there. Maybe if you want some shiny highlights on your on the shell here to make it look a little bit chromed out. It's kind of nice to do that. Yeah, but that's pretty much it. So that's the technique, and I do recommend going even darker than what I've gone. I just kind of was working with the markers that I had here in the moment, but yeah, a little bit darker marker will give you, it'll just make it pop more. So thanks for watching. This is Shua.